Hello and welcome to the temple. I am your High Priestess, Erin Sunniva McHugh. And as we enter this temple today, I welcome the presence of our higher selves. I welcome the presence of the highest consciousness into this space, highest love, highest compassion. I ask for the divine rose gold flame to encompass this podcast, this conversation, this field of consciousness. Thank you. I welcome the benevolent teachers and weavers of the divine plan to grace this space, to support the expansion and the sharing of spiritual experience and education. This is the place where we talk about the work we're doing. We can be present for the unfolding of hearts returning to their true medicine. And you may be called to this space today because you are seeking a connection to your divinity, or you are seeking a place where you can truly dive into your inherent perfection. It's time to remember how to heal and to walk the path of love and to participate in the restoration of the divine plan on earth. And so it is. Welcome. So, my friends, we have an important discussion to have today. I have a lot, hello, beloved. I have a lot of, oh goodness, I have a lot of things that are on my mind, I haven't even made notes. I'm just like, oh my gosh, so many things that I want to talk about. And I think it's really important that we are really transparent. We, as in those of us who are kind of leading the charge in this work of doing clearings and supporting people in their spiritual hygiene. It's really it's really time where I believe that the world is coming into even greater awareness, more and more every day, probably due to direct experience. But humanity is coming into awareness further and further, deeper and deeper into, what's happening here, right? What is affecting me? It can't just be inflammation, right? Like, I'm hearing voices. Do voices come with inflammation, right? So there's an awareness. There's this veil that's lifting from humanity at this time. And with the lifting of this veil is also, this shaking that happens for each person when these big realities reveals come forward. And it can be incredibly scary, especially if you're not resourced. When you're not spiritually resourced, or you don't have someone, to go to that you trust, that you can ask about this, it can be really scary. And this is why we need to be spreading the word on spiritual hygiene, sharing with our friends how they can just very simply protect themselves. If you were here for the invocation, you heard me also, the regular thing that I read every time that prayer. And I also have, I create a container before I start the podcast, but calling in the presence of the divine gold rose flame, incredibly powerful and protective. And the different rays of lights or flames can be super powerful, can become allies of yours. So where do we begin? On this planet at this time, evil is revealing itself. It's being revealed. Veils are being lifted. Illusions are cracking wide open. And this entire arc of damnation is revealing itself, and forcibly, by those who are committed to the revelations, to the revealing. And thankfully, that is happening. Thankfully, there are actually brave people in the government that are forcing revelations, but that's only one part of it. And those of us who are here kind of reeling from the revelations, there's a lot that's being stirred up within humanity, and there's a lot that is being triggered. And, you can stir up emotions, you can stir up grief, but what is being triggered for many people are, their own experiences of abuse, their own experiences with the darkness, their own experiences with past lives, and all, it almost feels like the persecution wound is also being amplified, probably due to the fact that there are still millions of people that are being persecuted on the planet right now. And within the realm of visibility, we don't know about that most of the time, unless we are allowing ourselves to be educated to that extent. So the real concern, the real process that we're in, is really taking a strong lens to our own spirit, to our own being, to our own experience, and loving ourselves. Like truly just allowing this this experience. Sorry, I'm sharing this to my personal page. Allowing the darkness within, if it's darkness, pain, if it's if it's your own self that you have struggled with, dark thoughts, or just the pain of experience that's coming to the surface, we all have an opportunity to tend to it. Whether or not we have the tools, that's another thing. So spirit releasement therapy is much more, if it's done correctly, it's much more than entity removal. And oftentimes we are discovering that there are past life wounds, there are deep soul agreements that have been hello Pensy, that have been really anchored deep into the soul matrix. I have learned over time, over many years. So I started learning spirit releasement therapy in 2008, 2009. And practicing it in 2010. I remember literally the first time that I started practicing it on my eldest daughter's godfather, and it really just grew from there. I was quite young and green, but over time, excuse me, over time, as my gifts grew, my ability to do a better job with SRT also developed. Now, the protocol that I teach, that I know like the back of my hand, is the protocol that my father created. And this work, so my father is a hypnotherapist. I'm sure if you're if you're not new to me and my page, then you've probably heard me talk about my father and his work before. But this is his book. This is the first edition. It's a different color now. It's like a seafoam green in the second edition, but this is where all my notes are. So this is the one I keep nearby. And the protocol is in this book. While this book is really a workbook to conduct spiritual alchemy through past life regression. But you cannot safely conduct past life regression or regression of any kind, truly, without making sure that yourself and your client are sovereign. And so this is where how his protocol works, is that it fits into the induction process, or after the induction, but it's part of the process with the client. So in his version, the client is looking and he's guiding the client, and the client is looking for all of the things. And then we work with Archangel Michael to remove what comes. Here is what is concerning to me about other protocols that I'm aware of and have learned and trained in. Part of our work as humans that are empowered and within our spiritual authority, is that we're using our free will. We're not just, asking for things to be done. We're actually commanding for things to be done. And this is a very big difference from what Astara Academy does. This is very different from Terence Palmer's protocol. So the biggest difference, first of all, is that with the protocol that Terence Palmer created, is that there's not a container. There's not a container. There's not a structure, whether that is a format or a grid, or there's not a circle of protection of divine beings that are watching over the process. Each medium is responsible for their own personal protection. So it's not a container themselves. And the way that we were trained was that your protection comes in the form of grounding and shielding. This is incomplete. This is a form of protection, and this is how you can put shields around you. But if you are doing massive work with big entities that you're removing them from their source of food, they can put up a fight. And if you don't have astral support from allies of the highest light, it can be very dangerous, very dangerous. And so with the practice from Palmer's protocol, is that he believes that the power of the mediums themselves create the container. And as a medium who trained in this process, I have to gravely disagree. I never felt more unsafe in doing this work than trying to use his protocol. And perhaps that's because I've been trained that of having incredible boundaries. I don't do psychic work for people unless I am within a safe container that I have invoked myself. I don't even read somebody's field. I mean, I pick up telepathically things and people ask me questions and I'll talk to them and do the thing. But I will never, ever, ever conduct an SRT, open Akashic records, look into your field without creating some kind of protective mechanism around us. This is for the sake of scrutiny, so that we can make sure that nobody is watching in the spirit world or otherwise, or beyond. Also to make sure that no foreign energies are entering. When we create these containers, the containers are there not just to protect you from what's outside, but to also contain what you are removing, so that you can also heal what you are removing. We're not here to just take entities away and send them somewhere else. And this is a very important aspect. When we are very specifically telling the angels, archangels, or the dragons or unicorns act of their own accord. So you can receive what the unicorns do. They're going to do what they need to do. You know what I mean? But just saying, okay, please check for this and do what you're going to do. It's pretty much what it feels like, and I understand the concept that the soul guides are trained by other soul guides. I understand the concept, but, well, personally, I was not actually allowed to have that process. That's another topic of private conversation. So I don't know what that part is like. And my dragon, whom I work with, does not know what that part is like either, because we were kept out. We were kept out of the field. We were basically barred from even witnessing the full extent of what was happening. But let me tell you that a yellow line, of which you're told to stand behind, is not a container. A yellow line is a figment of our imagination, that we have a belief system that if we stand behind the yellow line, that we won't be affected and that we're safe. But let me tell you what, in the spirit world, our imagination doesn't really have a stronger foothold on what is actually happening and what entities are allowed and able to do. Training under Terrence Palmer's protocol, I came under psychic attack more than my entire life combined within a 6-month period. And I would even do my own container, right? I would take care of myself. But I do not believe that what was happening to the fullest extent that was being described was actually happening. So when we command the light, when we command Archangel Michael, and it's not like I'm the boss of Archangel Michael. This is the power of free will. This is how free will works. We actually have to use it to this very powerful way. And let's pay attention to the agreement that the angels have with humanity. I can't help you unless you ask. Plain and simple. I can't help you unless you ask. So, command the light. In my training, this is one of the most important pieces that the practitioner or the individual, whether or not you're a practitioner, everybody can learn my protocol. But you have to. It's non-negotiable. You have to be able to stand in your spiritual authority. You have to convince me, you have to convince yourself, you have to convince the light that you are in command, right? And for some people, that's not very easy. They might have spent their life being under command, right? Being subservient. The way that you actually make changes in your life is through your own agency, through your own spiritual authority. Whether or not you're doing a spirit releasement therapy, doesn't matter. But if you are truly in this place of, this happens because I decree it, because I claim it, because I make it so, this is where your power lies. And really and truly, like, one of the things that I say is, I'm not convinced, right? And it's all like, whoa, like you have to, get big. But sometimes, yes, actually, energetically, you need to understand what it means to hold and be in your power. And being in your power can be really uncomfortable. It can be frightening even when you begin to feel it, and you might not be familiar with it, right? So stepping into your power is an initiation of itself, right? If you have, experience with prayer, then you have the ability to step into that. When you're in prayer, you have to check to see where your mindset is at in regards to command. Prayer is statement within the knowledge that what you ask for is received. It is a form of spiritual authority when you acknowledge that that law of the universe is true. Ask and you shall receive. So the angels have to abide by that law, just like we do. We can't receive something unless we ask for it. And if we receive something that we didn't ask for, we won't value it. Truly. So that's why, I'm not allowed to give my mentorship away for free. But if there is even, there has to be some form of exchange. I can tell you, Scarmonti, how to make a safe container in the most basic sense, but it is, within my training, so I can't really give it all away. But I will tell you the three main aspects. You need to make sure that you have your higher power connected. What does that mean to you? Higher self, highest self, soul monad, oversoul. What is that for you? The I am presence. What is that for you? And then the allies. Who are your allies? In the light. Benevolent ancestors. Don't just call on ancestors, please. Call on your benevolent ancestors, right? We need to be specific when we're creating a container, because not all of our ancestors are in the light nor have had their healing, right? So not all of our ancestors are here to help us. They might actually be needing our help, or maybe even receiving our help in the session that you're doing for yourself. So, I have very important aspects that I do within this, right? So we have the alignment of self. I amplify the heart flame so that the heart is in charge, right? I call upon protectors. Who are my protectors? For me, it's protector dragons, And finally is, you have your alignment with self, and you also have your alignment with in the name of, right? So when you pray or when you decree something, you are also stating that alignment, right? Who are you aligned with? Like Christians will say, in the name of Jesus, I pray in the name of Jesus. I rebuke you, or whatever their prayer is, but that in the name of. So for me, in the name of the divine plan and the cosmic sovereign law of one. So those are your two alignments, but I hold them as one thing. Personal alignment and alignment of the prayer and the container, the intention of the work. With that, then we step into beautiful, beautiful Scarmonti. Yes. Um, we can even get more specific. I wouldn't necessarily call on all those unless you have personal relationship with them. I have no idea. I know that you're European, but I don't know anything else about you, so I have no idea where your alignments lie. But if they feel like the highest light, then that is, then that's valuable. That's what matters to you, the one who's creating the container. And then the third piece is the prayer that you are receiving. What are you asking for? Today, we're going to do an SRT. We're going to do a clearing for myself or for the client. And we know that just by asking, our prayers are answered. And for that, we are grateful. So alignment, allies, and intention. These are the three aspects of a proper container. Now, my beloved father, who I actually did a remote session with this morning for one of my clients, who has had a ton of SRTs and not had a change. So we'll see. So I called on the master. We'll see what happens. There was big things that happened in the sessions. We'll see how it goes for her. But where was I? Oh, so now keep in mind that I have taken my father's protocol and amplified it, added things to it, right? I'm a psychic medium. My father is psychic, but he's not a psychic medium. That's not his job. He's the facilitator, master facilitator. So in that session with him, I always take note of his languaging, because he was my mentor. He was how I learned this. So he also refines his words and his process, right? And so in this session with him today, there was this like, okay, what do the entities want, right? And do we have an agreement here? This is a huge piece that not all people, I believe, facilitators are aware of. That if the soul has a past life agreement or a present life agreement with an entity, that entity cannot be removed, no matter how hard you try. So that needs to be within that inquiring process with the entities. Not just how long have you been here? What is your purpose? Why are you here? Where did you come from? But, does the client have an agreement with you? Okay, well, we need to now alchemize the agreement itself. So we can say, okay, higher self, are you ready to rescind this agreement? Yes, of course. I mean, 99.99% of the time, the higher self knows that this, whatever this kind of agreement is, it does not serve the highest good, and we're ready to rescind it. Sometimes those agreements, are karmically based, and something needs to happen in order for the agreement to end. When that happens, that can also be transmuted. And so we have a particular process, discovering the source and healing the source. Why are we revealing pain, suffering, karma as psychics, as mediums, as Akashic readers? We create more pain by not being thoroughly trained. If you are a reader of any kind, I don't care what your tool is, whether you're an Akashic reader, tarot reader, scryer, diviner, I don't care what you do. If you are not equipped to alchemize the source of the wounds that you reveal, you are doing a disservice to your clients. You're doing a disservice to the planet. I can't count how many times I have had clients come to me and say, oh, I had a QHHT session and it was very revealing, but I'm incredibly traumatized and I don't know what to do with these memories that have now surfaced. What the fuck? And that's not even the issue of not doing clearings in the hypnosis protocol. This is, where is the alchemy? Now, there are some hypnotherapists, I was going to say hypnotists, I don't like to say hypnotherapists, who are multi-trained in hypnosis. So there, some that practice. Thank you, Scarmati. I'm so glad. There are some that, please share. Please share this podcast. Share it far and wide. Let the people know that we're here sharing valuable information. There are hypnotists, hypnotherapists who are trained in multiple forms of hypnosis. And this can be really, really powerful and incredible. And when you are, then you're also equipping yourself with multiple tools, so that you can help your client. What I understand about QHHT is that it is an incomplete protocol, just like I believe that Dr. Palmer's protocol is an incomplete protocol. And because of the training that I've had, thank you, Millie, love you so much. The training that I've had in my life with receiving SRT since I was 15, 14. I started experiencing past life regression at 16. I have a multitude of trainings, but the most important training that I have received is this fucking book from this badass dude. That's my dad. So let me tell you the name of the book. I'll even grab. My dad today, he said, oh, I just ordered a book on Mary Magdalene. It's like, oh yeah, what is it? And he's like, oh, I can't remember the name. It's a red book. I was like, oh, you mean Mary Magdalene Revealed? Yeah, that's one of my required books for reading, including your workbook. So let me get this because everybody, if you are a practitioner of any kind, even if you're not a practitioner, this is an incredibly valuable book that is here for our empowerment. So here we go. This is, oh gosh, Millie was one of my first students. I think Millie took my mentorship when I was like in the third year of it, when it actually was living interdimensionally before it was named Mary Magdalene Revealed. So the book is, yes, the new. So these, and I'm going to be narrating it. I talked to my dad. Oh, Pensy, I love that. I talked to my dad last time that he and his wife came to visit. And I said, it's been suggested that I should narrate your book so that it can be on Audible. And he goes, oh, that's a great idea. And his wife heard, your book should be on Audible. And she's like, yeah, honey, your book should be on Audible. You think you could do that? And he goes, no, Erin's going to do it. And I was like, so I need to get on that. But yes, please, here's the link for it. So thank you for the suggestions. I'm excited. And to also, I do actually want to do voice work. So it's a nice way to kind of open that door. So all of this work is living work. What does that mean? Like a living document. It means that it's evolving. None of this work is definitive. None of it is finite, right? Every protocol for hypnosis and SRT, as humanity changes and grows, so do our protocols. I have hacked my father's process as a psychic medium to where I am facilitating and seeing and conducting the session all at the same time. And I teach people how to do that. So I can teach you, if you are a hypnotherapist and you want to include SRT in your regression process, this is the book for you. This is the training for you. In the training that I'm giving next month, I am not teaching the hypnosis protocol, because what is more important than ever is empowering you, my friends, empowering you to know how to clear yourselves. We need to be teaching our children how to do this for themselves every day. When they wake up in the morning, to clear their night, when they come home from school, so they can clear all of that. Every night when I'm putting my children to bed, we do the clearing. And even if I'm tired, sometimes I have fallen asleep in the middle of the clearing. If I lay down next to my daughter, who demands that I lay down with her, well, they both do. Elijah does too, but she needs more. She's the baby. She's not a baby, but you know what I mean. I remember one time that I fell asleep and she was like, "Mommy, finish the clearing. You didn't finish." So she also says it with me now. She's 4.5. She says it with me now. And I am doing the clearing in such a way that I'm, if anything is, kind of big and needs to be dealt with, I do that silently, not actively in front of them, because it can be kind of, like, what's going on with mommy now? Who is she talking to? Right? And then they'll hear my, dragon light language, and they'll be like, oh, geez, must be a big thing, So a big piece of what I do in my process is muscle testing. So you don't have to be clairvoyant. This is why a lot of people are like, oh, I can't do SRT because I'm not clairvoyant. Well, do you want to keep disempowering yourself, or do you want to actually empower yourself? Because muscle testing, kinesiology, is beyond phenomenal. And I still I still have the tab open for Psyche. But I trained myself in just very simple muscle testing. This is not, you don't need a training in kinesiology like beloved Pensy is trained in all the things. She's amazing. But so like, is this present? Yes or no? Right? Is this present? Yes or no? Has it been cleared? Yes or no? Do we rescind the thing? Yes or no? Right? You have the answers in your body. There's like this whole thing that, like, I just want to shake everybody. I'm like, you are empowered. You are a human endowed with free will, spiritual authority. You have the ability to command the light, to clear yourself, and to know whether or not it's happened. And you have the ability to work with dragons. Yes, they're available to you. There are people who come in with the dragons and they're obsessed with dragons and they work with dragons their whole life, et cetera, et cetera. And then there are those of us who are just like, yeah, dragons are cool. I don't know. And then whoop, dragon. Right? And the dragons come forward and you have no choice. And now you're working with dragons, right? Or the unicorns come forward and they're like, we will hold the space from here, right? That's also like incredible space holders, unicorns. So with this, empowerment, you can only move forward from this foundation of having SRT in your life. It's incredibly important that as we continue through this soul planet evolution that we're a part of, referred to as ascension, whether or not you agree with that term, but it's evolution into a higher vibration, right? We are being asked, you are being asked to step into this level of power. Is it the same as when you call in your higher self and ask her what a clear yes and no feels like, and then you ask yes or no questions? Yes, it's exactly the same. So when you're getting with kinesiology, with muscle testing, you get a baseline, and that baseline, can be like, my name is Erin. Yeah. My name is Scaramanti. No, right? But you try to hold that circuit as best as you can. Some people do it like this, right? If you can't bring your finger through, that's a yes. And so what's happening here? Muscle testing is using the electromagnetic field, your circuits, to answer your questions, because the body knows. The body's connected to everything. We're just here in this perspective of the 3D, 4, 5D. And so some things we certainly can feel, we certainly can have an awareness of, but at the same time, we want to be sure. And so this is where, even with my psychic abilities, I wanted to be sure. And so then I started incorporating muscle testing. And that's only been within the last year, truly. It's as we evolve, it's as we get better, it's as we add these skills to our spiritual basket, our toolbox, that we are amplifying our effectiveness. We're amplifying the sustainability of the work that we do, and we're just simply amplifying the work. And as that happens, we get better at all of the things that we do. The more that you are building the muscle internally of I am in my spiritual authority, I can speak power. Excuse me, I am in my greatness, I know I've told this in the past, whether or not it was heard, but one of the things that I used to do when calling my higher self, there was something that happened. There was like, I remember exactly where I was. I was driving in my car towards the location that I was doing a photo shoot. And I really wanted, Kath. Absolutely. Human pendulum, same exact thing. A little bit more subtle, right? A little bit more subtle. But as I was, I'm like, okay, we're moving from one spot to another for this photo shoot. And if you ever want to know who the photographer is that I work with, she's amazing. One of my most dearest sisters. I've been, doing all of my photo shoots with her for the last 8 years. I was driving in the car and I'm like, okay, I call upon the presence of the highest light of my being, my greatest self, and the phrase, great being that I am. Great being that I am, right? And that was different. And I felt the difference. because I acknowledged that I am much more than I realize. And whatever that is, I call it to be present with me now, right? So in that, had a beautiful experience, really awesome photographs that we ended up with that I still use. That was many years ago. Actually, it wasn't many years ago. It was 2 years ago, maybe. Anyway, I started thinking that whenever I was calling in the presence of my higher self, I was also saying, great being that I am. And a larger piece of my energy would come every time. And I believe that was preparing me to receive my dragon. That what I was actually calling upon, the great being that I am, is my dragon self, my dragon body. Not everybody's higher self is fused with the dragon. Mine is. I've met a handful of other people who are in the same kind of relationship with dragon. It is well known that Mary Magdalene has used her dragon body. I've encountered it. I've called it in. I've received it. So working with dragons can be incredibly helpful. So what is the essence of the great being that you are? And how does that show up? Dragon or not? Might not be a dragon, right? So allowing more of yourself, allowing yourself to reach out to the great being that you are, enables you. It empowers you. It encourages you to be aware in an expansive way, right? What else is here? What can I do to do good work in the world, to make an impact for the light, right? So even with the sight of my dragon, even with the fullness of this protocol, I still muscle test because I want to be super duper accurate. Even if I hear the answer before I do the muscle test, it's a confirmation. It's a confirmation. Questions? Yes, right, Pensy. So you're asking something that you know is correct, and you're also asking something that you know is incorrect. And what is happening when we're doing this muscle testing? It's not just that the body knows. When you ask a question and the answer is yes, the circuit of your field strengthens and connects. It forces that circuit to become tight. It's not just the fact that you're trying to keep it closed, right? My name is Pensy. No, my name is Erin. Yeah. Right. My name is Sunniva. Oh, kind of. It's assumed. It's an assumed name. But interesting. So, what is happening is that our circuit, our bodily electromagnetic circuit with yes gets, whoa, yeah, strong. And with no, it gets weak. So it's just so very simple. And I will provide full training for that process with my SRT training. So my SRT training is, let me get the link for it. It's March 7th, 14th, and 21st. So it is 3 weeks of 3-hour sessions on Saturdays. And oh, whoops, I just shared it. I wanted to copy the link. Well, I shared it to my page. So I do request that you receive the psychic protection workshop beforehand. So that is found at my Patreon. You can purchase it there. And this process is, I mean, as I was saying before, it's incredibly empowering to be responsible for your own spiritual hygiene. Like this is, of course, you know, hi Helen, if you are, you know, if you're going through a lot and it seems like this is more than I can handle, that's when you call for professional help, right? This is more than I can handle. I'm having a difficult time staying sovereign. Then we need to understand why that is. And most likely that we need to have a more investigative session. And that can be really difficult to do on your own. That's when you need, you know, professional support. So, what's the other thing that I wanted to say? Yeah, it's just so empowering. Even just like, you know, I have to clear myself after I go to the store, you know, especially if I go to Costco. I really have to clear myself. And what has been happening for me lately is that the intensity of the sessions that I'm conducting, the Akashic sessions, you know, whatever kind of, you know, session they are, they're actually majorly happening within the construct of the SRT. So we go through the clearing of entities and clearing, you know, literal being attachments, then cords and hooks and tethers and things, we remove that. So we're removing all of these kind of things that are more on the surface so that we can get to what is deeper within the soul matrix, within the DNA, within the belief systems. So after clearing, you know, so we can dive into curses, vows, dark contracts. When we get into that kind of section of the clearing, then we're also, okay, let's call forward the belief systems that are keeping, you know, the client from their success or whatever is like the main issue, right? There's a field of experience. When someone comes to you with a need that's bigger than just, I need a clearing, right? I need a clearing, but I'm having financial struggles. I need a clearing, but I can't leave my abusive relationship. I need a clearing, and I'm hearing voices. I need a clearing, and for some reason this thing right? That field of experience of what is occurring for the client needs to be discussed with the client. This is why doing these sessions in person with the client are so important and so incredibly valuable, because there's information that you need from the client that are hidden within their belief systems. So when we get to this part of the SRT process, we need to know, even just have a gist of what that field of experience looks like, or else we can't call upon the field of experience in order to be alchemized. If we don't have the client present, or we don't have awareness of belief systems that are hindering the client, then what we can do is we just simply call upon what are the past life triggers or resonances that are negatively affecting the client at this time. That's the phrase, right? And in the revealing of that, we might discover multiple iterations, multiple events that really, you know, deepen or affirm that experience, right? So you came into this life with certain beliefs that were created from experiences in other lives. And those belief systems or patterns dictated how this life went. And so we need to go to the very origin of that experience in order to heal how it's affecting you now, heal the belief itself, and alchemize it. Now, I know that there are aspects in Terence Palmer's protocol where where the soul guide is instructed to look for past life resonances. That's the extent of it. And then the soul guides are it can be both, Amber. It can be both. So just saying, let's clear the past life resonances, that does not work. You can't just clear things if they are ingrained, and they're also very often in the DNA, right? In the DNA. Yes, and Pensy, I have also had clients come to me who have had sessions with IFS that are incomplete because those parts were brought to the surface and not completely tended to. Because the source, this is the thing, my friends. If you are doing alchemy, you have to understand what is required in order for alchemy to be complete. Alchemy only works if you are going to the origin or the source of the karmic wounding. You have to go back to the beginning, right? Now, I'm not saying that IFS, isn't a good process. I think that it's incredibly important to clarify emotions, to clarify why emotions are present and who they connect to within the family system. I believe it stands for integrated family systems. I'm not sure. I think that's what the I stands for. So it's like, okay, I've had clients come to me who need correcting, or just as I was saying before, that there was a wound that was revealed and not tended to. It was not healed at the source. And a judgment on any practitioner, but to just say, you really need to know how to do these things. And ultimately, they're not difficult. But if we're going to facilitate and hold space for humanity while we're trying to raise into these higher frequencies, those higher frequencies are unattainable as long as the lower realities, belief systems, and karmic wounds from other lives are still tethering us to that old self, that old way of being, that old reality. So, yes, you can't leave out the psychotherapy. You can't leave out, yes, exactly. It's like ripping off a scab and then expecting the wound to heal itself without giving it some kind of antibiotic, hopefully a natural one, right? So, yes, Skermonti, and it absolutely, this is, I can speak from this place of authority because I've been doing this work, receiving this level of work since my teens. And probably trained in it in other lives. This is like literally what I just heard, like, and in other lives too, So yes, not one protocol, because what I practice are things that I've learned as a trained priestess in ceremonial work, in shamanic plant medicine ceremony experiences, activations, mediumship, right? Everything that has brought me to the empowerment of the woman that you see today, who speaks from her belly, is a woman who has done tremendous work on herself and is still fucking doing it. Like, maybe I should tell you about what happened yesterday in the sauna. Anyway, so we need to understand that if the client is not improving in any way, there's something that we're missing. And maybe that, like the thing that you're missing is not you don't have the tools to heal what's missing. I really loved doing the remote with my father today with the client that has had multiple clearings from Andy, from Laura, from a multitude of practitioners. And then I did a clearing and I'm like, fuck, this is hard. Let me call on the big guy, And so I did that. I asked for help because I was like, I can see the being. I can see the being, but this, maybe this agreement is more intricate than I can do. But here's the most magnificent piece. What is incredibly different about the Spirit Releasement Protocol that I'm trained with is that usually, for the most part, if the entities are indignant, right? If the entities, so here's what happened. After the alchemizing of the origin of the agreement that the client had with these entities that had control over her, the entities were not being removed from the planet itself. And I was shown that they had a kind of corkscrew energy that tethered them to the planet. So he called upon the four demon, who's in charge here, right? And had a conversation with the entity of, why are you bound here? Because I was induced, because I was in trance, I don't remember everything, but I remember what I saw. And I remember that this is, part of my father's process is having the entity look inside of itself. Because no being is 100% dark. No being is 100% light. So even demons have a spark of light within them, in their center. So now the demon is communicating through me, right? And being instructed by Greg McHugh to look inside of himself, which he was very resistant to doing. But what do you see in there? I see origin. So he sees his origin, okay? Follow the origin. So going through a process of being born as a demon, being born out of darkness, but then he sees like a one grain of sand. That is enough of light. That's his light. It's that one grain of sand. And the instruction, the facilitator says, okay, go inside the center of that grain of sand of light. There are beings that we would believe that we can't heal them, that they're unhealable because they're demons, or because they're some grand nefarious thing. But every entity in existence has light within it. And when you guide, when you instruct, and you invite an entity to look inside themselves, you invite them into healing. They may not understand the process they're ready for. This one was like, I'm not going there, right? It's like, oh, but just look. What is there? Just look at it. And by looking at the light illuminates the demon. And the demon went through returning to, so there's the, what does that feel like? It feels like being nourished. That's what the light feels like. This is from the demon. Feels like being nourished. And then all of a sudden, this was a demon nursing at the breast of the Divine Mother, Holy Sophia, the All Mother. And he's like, well, I still want to keep my horns. I love my horns so much, right? And Grace says, you can keep your horns. That's fine. Just keep receiving the nourishment from the mother. And as he received the nourishment, he turned into the Christ child. Not kidding. He turned in, Christ-like. He turned into what looked like a humanoid-ish baby. No darkness, full of light. And that is the difference. And that is the difference between other entity removal, right? This is, right? It's incredibly sad. And I mean, I'm speaking for this being and crying its tears. This was 2 hours ago. And I'm gesturing to the bed that's in this room with me. But it's because you are an empathic being. Because you know what it means to be saved by the light. And that the mother is never giving up on you. And what was the most incredible thing, this is going to make me cry, is that I have done so much. This is from the demon. I've created so much darkness in the world, and still, while he's nursing, she loves me. Greg says, yeah, she does. She will never stop loving you, no matter what you do. That's the mother's job. So we have not just the ability to remove entities and return them to source or send them back to light, but to remove entities that are ingrained on this planet, to remove entities that have wound themselves so deeply, even that live inside the planet before humanity got here. That they believe that they own this place and that they own humanity and that they can do whatever the fuck they want to with us. Absolutely not. Those beings can be healed. And it's the same with reptilians. It's the same with Zeta Reticuli. It's the same with any nefarious being. And when it comes to negative aliens, they have free will. Unless they're drones, they have a soul. No matter how corrupt their soul is, they have one, which means that they also have free will. So we have an opportunity to actually heal Draco reptilians. If we take it upon ourselves, we can. If we can hold that space and invite them home into their own center. So it's really important, yes, that these entities, many of them have been enslaved. Many of them have been lied to. And if you've been, with me in these last few conversations, So have the angels. The angels were lured here. The angels were brought to this place to participate in this polarized reality. And according to Archangel Michael, the demons are above the angels. But demons have more power than the angels do, certain demons. So we, within our spiritual authority and prowess and dedication to healing and illuminating the dark, have the capacity, the tools, the wherewithal to actually bring healing to the demons themselves. Now, did y'all watch the third interview? The third interview with Archangel Michael? Let's see if I can grab it real quick. Holy moly. Holy moly. Let's go back to YouTube. I'm sure it's in my recent history because it was a recent thing that I watched. I'll share this with you all. So fascinating, another fascinating conversation, and it went, much further beyond the original, further beyond the first two conversations. So it wasn't all about, the covenant, right, and the contracts between. Where's number 3? Come on. Number 3, here we go. So really fascinating, and apparently they're going to be having a conversation with Yahweh. What if those are all imposters? Say more, Ariana. Those being who? Who are the imposters? Who Alabar is conversing with? I'll tell you why I trust Alabar. So he created Earth Guard, which is a community of mediums and astral projectors. And this is the latest conversation. And I don't know much about him as a man, except that he's the leader of the group. He's the main teacher, and they have quite a community, and they're very well trained. And those who do, they fight the dark on the planet. They're constantly removing demonics. They're constantly doing big, heavy work. And when he asked Archangel Michael, like, how much of a dent, have we made? How many of the demons on the planet, have we been able to tackle his group? And Archangel Michael said about 25%. And the most beautiful thing is said, okay, well, who else? And they said the Buddhists. The Buddhists are in constant prayer, constant work of, honestly, I think that I don't know exactly what the Buddhists are doing, but simply by promoting peace, they are creating peace on the planet and transmuting darkness. But they are responsible for up to 1/3 of the removal of entities on the planet. They don't show the verification process, Ariana, but I trust it. I can feel it in my body. Definitely is not an imposter. Considering all of the beings that he's had different interviews with and the way that he communicates with the beings, he knows how to check if it's an imposter or not. Absolutely not an imposter. So you do hear so many different things. And here's the thing. A lot of the people, because I've been reading, right, like Cryon, it is kind of an Archangel Michael messenger. Carol Lee is the man that has been channeling Cryon for ages. I've read a lot of, channelings from random mediums, from Archangel Michael, and everything is very love and light. Very love and light. And so I think that's why it's difficult to listen to this conversation, because everything that we've heard up to now has been conversations or channelings from the perspective that the angels and the archangels are here for the highest good, and that they have ultimate control over certain things, and they don't. And there are agreements in place that brought them here to do the work that they love to do, that they desire to do, that they truly, authentically love humanity and do not want to be a part of this covenant. They've actually, Archangel Michael has said, we would love to end this contract. But in order for the contract or the covenant between Yahweh, Metatron, and Mephistopheles, also known as Satan, under which the angels are under that, okay, they need all of humanity to demand the end of the covenant. I think it might take some time before that happens, So it's incredibly, illuminating, these conversations. And, Alabar Jones, he even says, like, nobody ever asks you these difficult questions or asks you questions like this, right? Usually the channel or medium, it just says, what does humanity need to hear right now? What instructions do you have for us, Michael, et cetera, right? And of course, that's going to be positive, that's going to be helpful, that's going to be speaking to what humanity is going through at that particular time, and be helpful, in some way. But these people are not asking the same questions that Alabar is asking. And that is what is quite illuminating and challenging for a lot of people. Yeah. So let us remember that, yes, our spiritual authority is here, right? It's within us. Our ability to command the light is here within our spiritual authority. Our ability to clear and protect ourselves is right here. And all we need to do is to believe in ourselves. It doesn't mean that I'm not working with Archangel Michael. I'm absolutely still working with Archangel Michael. He is the main aspect, right, of the SRT process. He's the main dude. But I also include the dragons. Of course, the heart of Elijah is present, and if you've done any work with me or learned from me, you know who that is. And if you have other beings or soul guides that are participating in the clearing, then that's helpful. That's important, right? But guidance, direct, clear script, necessary. Let's not be willy-nilly and say, okay, soul guide, please check for this. Yeah, done? Okay, let's move on, right? Let's check for this. Yeah? Huh? Done? Okay, right? No. So if you would like to learn a protocol that is made for the individual, it's made for you, so that you can clear yourself when you come home from the store, so you can clear your children when they come home from school, so that you can clear your business and protect yourselves. Come learn my protocol. Come learn my protocol. It's the best. I really love, one of my best girlfriends, she always said, like, I like how you work with Archangel Michael, but why don't you just do it yourself? And I'm like, oh, I don't think I'm there yet, But then Rumara showed up, and when I'm incorporating Rumara, like if you come to the Dragon Circle at all, you'll notice that even Rumara, when she could do a ton of clearing herself, she's like, nope, Archangel Michael, do this, do all these things. And most important, the calling back of soul parts, right? The retrieval of your whole being, the integration and that healing aspect from that place is so vital and so important, right? The sealing of the work placed in the Akashic records, because all of the alchemy that you do needs to be sealed within the Akashic records as well. Yeah. So lots of missing pieces in the Palmer protocol. And that's why I think it's dangerous. And unfortunately, can anyone connect to Dragon? Yes, Katerina, where have you been? Anyone? Can just little old me? Yes. So the dragons are present. The dragons are eager to help. Just like the angels are eager to help too. They want to be of service. That's why they're here, right? So we can come from the place of empowerment within our beings, and also that place of innocence within our beings, to say, I call upon, in the name of love, in the name of my own personal divine plan, I call my dragon to me. I call my dragons to me. From the highest light of creation, I call upon my dragon helpers that are ready to work with me, to serve my highest good, to serve the greater good, and to support me on my earth walk. And so it is. It's that simple. Yeah. No, Katerina, I'm just saying, like, in general, I'm always like, yes, the dragons are available to all of us. I say it all the time. So, and, we're all new students in a lot of ways. So if you look what I'm going to do, for those of you who are here right now, it's not our third Thursday, but if you would like to join the Dragon Tribe today in 34 minutes, you are welcome. Let me get the link. Let me see if I can do this right now. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to give you my meeting ID number. So this is my Zoom room. And anyone that wants to work with dragons, get to know your dragons, receive from my dragon, please join us today. Today I invite you. Write down this number and join me. Join me in a beautiful group. We're usually from like 9, 10, or 11 people. and beautiful and intimate and always helpful. We do work for the world at large, for individuals, for different groups of species. We do healing work. We work with all of the healing dragons, and we call in a lot of the dragons of the realm. And I mean, Rumara, who is the highest light of my being, exists in higher frequencies. So the answers to questions, like in my presence when she's with me, yeah, I have my response, and then she has her much more wise response that actually comes in, and I'm like, oh wow, gosh, totally not what I would have said. So as an individual who incorporates her own dragon, it's incredibly powerful every single time. I'm always receiving from it. Everyone is always receiving something. There's always an energetic calibration. So working with the dragons is really important. With that being said, I need to give myself a little bit of space before we open that container. Thank you all for coming. Thank you for being here. It is my goal, my desire, my personal agenda to empower humanity, to especially empower women to being their sovereign selves. And especially if you have resonance with Sophia, Mary, Isis, the lineage of the rose, the sisterhood of the rose, however you feel drawn to the blue ray or the emerald order of Melchizedek, however you feel a resonance or an alignment, this is where we're at. This is the work that I'm here for. And I believe that one of the most important things that I can be doing on this planet is freeing the Sophias from the matrix, from the mind control, from the covenant of Yahweh, and from that fearful God, right? Sophia is much, much, much more valuable, important, and powerful than any fearful, vengeful God. Yes. So thank you for listening. Thank you for being here with me. And thank you for taking the training and empowering yourself. I'm not trying to fleece anyone with the work that I do and selling my courses. I try to make them as affordable as possible while also providing for myself. So if you would like to take the training, put the delivery time. Oh, yes. Pasture-raised meat has arrived. Where are we? Here it is again. Thank you so much. And just ask all of your questions. Ask away. Reach out to me. I love you all so much. Thank you to all of the help, divine beings. Thank you. We surrender you back to your spaces. Stay if you will, go if you must. We love you so much. And so it is. Blessings to all of you. Take care.